the zone. When it's time for the moment, you already know. Flip the channel, hear that voice. Big stakes, big stage, one choice. From the coin toss to the last shot, he break it all down on the spot. Sideline swagger, zip up jacket. Notes in the pad, whole board mapped it. Every city, every loud crowd chanting. If the trophy on the line, he's standing. It's the KR Big Game Show. You feel that buzz soon as lights go. If it's win or lose, he gon' be there. Talking every play like fresh air. Bills Mafia riding, whole nation loud. Big smile steady in the tensest crowd. When the big game hit, he on call for show. It's the KR Big Game Show. KR in the zone. When it's time for the moment, you already know.
Ladies and gentlemen, the KR Big Game Show with your host, Big Game Kerry Reeves.
Good evening in Knoxville. How's everybody doing on a Tuesday night? This is the KR Big Game Show with your host, Big Game Kerry Reeves, right here, baby. Talking about some good sports and some spring sports are in effect as my hashtag is going. But we're going to have a fun night. We're going to talk about the Final Four. We're going to talk about how the NCAA tournament and then throw in a little bit of baseball and a little bit of NFL news too. Before we get started, just want to say thank you to everybody for watching our channel. And we're still over 20,000 views. Keep punching the like button, sharing our cause. And remember that the opinions of my Big Game Show are not of any organization titles. These are merely my thoughts, along with panelists and guest panelists that I decide to have. If you want a chance to chat, join the chat box and click on the show link and come on with us, please, for about 5 minutes or so. Speak your mind, and there's the link for you to come on, speak your mind if you choose to. And just remember, smash that like button and share us. We're going to have a good time. Let's get started with the Final Four. Started with March Madness. What a ride to the Final Four. What a tournament we had. From the first four, from the exciting games of the first four, from Miami being at home, Miami, Ohio being at home, and Dayton 2 hours down the road to that big crowd, to Texas and NC State putting on one of the best games of the tournament. To that first weekend, we didn't have the upsets we had, but we had a lot of great and close games. We had the Adventures of Texas making it to the Sweet 16. We had the Adventures of Iowa upsetting the defending national champions in the second round. And that led to a great second week in regionals. We had 4 great regionals. We had 4 interesting games and 4 different type of ball games. We had Iowa and Illinois coming back from a deficit in the first half and showing their mettle. They've really been under the radar all year as a tough team. They played a great non-conference schedule. They got a lot of foreign players that came over. They've all collaborated and gotten together and just enjoyed each other. And a couple of the players is Peja Stojakovic. If you remember Peja Stojakovic from the Orlando Magic and the Sacramento Kings, that is his baby boy that led the team to the Final Four. You got in the West region, you got Arizona, who's been dominant all year, except for one bad week when they lost twice to Kansas and Texas Tech. Except for one bad week, they have been dominant all year. 36-2, came back from a deficit against Purdue in the regional final, which made me very happy because I did not want to see Purdue anywhere near Indianapolis. Arizona showed their mettle, showed their grit, showed their tough, and they do it old school without hitting three-pointers. They pound it inside. They get to the foul line. They believe in shooting more foul shots than you. Sunday, Michigan, kudos for Tennessee to getting to the Elite Eight once again, but Michigan was just that dominant, just that strong. Luxembourg was the best player on the floor, was the best player in that entire regional, and he showed it. And that 21-0 run in the middle of the first half basically ended the ball game. Like I said, kudos to Tennessee and kudos to Rick Barnes. And for those people who don't think Tennessee basketball is in a great state, Tennessee basketball is in the best state it has ever been in, and it's only going to get stronger. It's only going to get better. They are going to break through eventually and get to that Final Four. I really believe that. And then the game of the year, I think the college basketball game of the year, you had UConn versus Duke in Washington, D.C., and for about 30 minutes, Duke owned the game. That up as much as 19 points with 12 minutes to go. And then UConn just slowly chipped away, and forced Duke once again to try to close another game at the end, when all they had to do with 10 seconds left was inbound the ball and hold the ball. One of two things would have happened. They either would have gotten fouled or time would have ran out. And they had a timeout in their back pocket, which they never used. Instead, tried to make a play, forces the Harrison, makes the interception, gets it to Schilling, and nails a Steph Curry 35, 40-foot three-pointer, all net. No rim, no nothing, all net, to send UConn to an improbable comeback, to an improbable Final Four. And what we have now is the Final Four. We got these games this weekend. We got the first game. It's Illinois versus UConn. We have a 3 seed from the South against a 2 seed from the East. Sure, some people had UConn probably in the Final Four, but not a lot of people I know had Illinois. That should be an outstanding ball game. They will kick the evening off at 6:09 with that game, and then at 8:49 or somewhere around 9 o'clock Eastern time, 8 o'clock Central, because they will be in Indianapolis. It is Central time. We'll have the heavyweight battle we have anticipated: Michigan and Arizona. These are clearly the two best teams left. This should be a national championship game. Instead, it's a semifinal. One of these two teams could win the national title, or neither of these two teams could win a national title. The national title winner could easily come out of Illinois and UConn. But Michigan and Arizona, two of the most dominant teams all year. Contrast in styles. Both teams don't like to shoot a lot of threes, but both teams like to pound it and get to the foul line. This is going to be an outstanding college basketball game. And of course, the two winners from that will play each other in the championship game on Monday night at 9:12. TBS has I believe TBS has the Final Four Saturday, and CBS has the championship game on Monday. Should be an absolute classic. One of these 4 teams will be very well deserving in winning the national championship. Some other news that has gone on in college basketball since we last talked about: Hubert Davis is out at North Carolina. And basically, some people were surprised. Some of us were not surprised. It got to the point where that 19-point lead was just the final, that they blew in the NCAA tournament, was the final straw. Who's going to replace him? That's going to be the big question. And that's the question that people had asked before they fired him. Said, if you're going to replace him, you got to have a big name. But right now, most of the big names are staying at place and actually getting extensions. Patino got a new extension at St. John's. Mark Byington, after the year he had at Vanderbilt, get a long extension there at Vanderbilt to keep people and keep in place. The names that are on the list right now: Tommy Lloyd is a name on the list that is hot. The Iowa coach, his name is running wild. He's only been Ben Headington. He's only been there 1 year. I don't see him leaving or anything else, but I'm seeing other names pop. Some of them names will probably pop up eventually. One new hire that's out there is that a guy from Rick Barnes' staff, a very well known assistant, Justin Gainey, alma mater's NC State. He played for Mark Gottfried in the late 90s. He will be the new coach at NC State. That's a great hire for NC State. And knowing the man that he is and the coach that he is, he will get them back to where they should be, which is near the ACC, contending in the ACC and getting into the NCAA tournament. It'll take a little bit of work, but if anybody can pull it off, Justin Gainey's got the know-how, he's got the experience, and he's got the grit and determination being under Coach Rick Barnes' staff. And that's the big question going on right now. Who's Rick Barnes is going to add to his staff to replace him? There's people like Kim English, who had just got relieved of his duties at Providence. He might want to take a year off to be with his family. That's names pop up. I also heard the name Rodney Terry, former coach at Texas. He was a part of Barnes' staff at Texas. That might be another person that come towards Tennessee to be part of the staff. There's a lot of names that Rick Barnes is looking at. There's a lot of names, a lot of questions, a lot of everything's going on at Tennessee, and a lot surrounding Nate Ament. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? He's going to get information and he's going to decide. You got that going with a lot of names all over college basketball. They're getting themselves together. They're getting their people talking and see what's going to go on. This NBA draft that's coming up at the end of June is going to be one of the most anticipated NBA drafts we've ever seen because of the number of freshmen that could be top 10 lottery picks. That's how deep this conversation is. And now The NFL draft. We're getting closer to the NFL draft, folks. Today's the last day of March. Hard to believe we are already a fourth of the year already done today, March 31st. The draft is coming up on April the 26th in Pittsburgh. I'm seeing a lot of mock drafts out there. We're seeing a lot of pro days. We're seeing Ty Simpson's name is fluctuating between the first round and the second round. It's going up, it's going down. We had pro days going around last week at Alabama, Notre Dame, Syracuse, and now you got Tennessee today had their pro day with Joey Aguilar being out there, Chris Brazzell being out there, some of the defensive players like Gerard McCoy, who ran a 4.37 at the combine after being off a year because of ACL surgery. He's looking at possibly a top 15 draft. A lot of mock drafts out there. Who do you look forward to when you see mock drafts? I see all the mock drafts all the time. I see the Daniel Jeremiahs. I see the Charles Davis. I see the Field Yates. I see Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, Tommy Luganville. I'm seeing a lot of mock drafts over, and a lot of them are starting to compare to each other. Even some of the talk show guys are trying to get into the mock drafts, like Jason McIntyre on the Herd. And he needs to. Sometimes he's a bit of misinformation, but some of his mock drafts are actually coming out to be pretty good. You've got other people just getting into the mock draft idea, and a lot of them are similar. We're going to see what happens. Joe Klatt, his mock drafts are out there. We're going to see a lot that happens between now and the 28th. We're going to see an awful lot of things. What does your favorite team need? That's what the next question is. Whose mock drafts do you look at? Who do you trust to see what your team needs the most? For me, being a Bills fan, I look at everybody's and I try to balance one way or the other. I see a lot of the mock drafts that involve my Bills involve a wide receiver at 26. Some of the others have a linebacker at 26, because both of the positions are positions of need. It's going to be pretty exciting to see what happens with the NFL draft as we get closer and closer to Pittsburgh. What's going to happen with A.J. Brown? Is he going to be traded during the draft, or is he going to be traded after the draft? Is Aaron Rodgers ready to come back to Pittsburgh? Are we going to find out before the draft, or are we going to find out after the draft with Aaron Rodgers? A lot of big names, a lot of questions. That's just the drafts. This week it came out, too, at the NFL owners meeting that the Rams were trying to shop Davante Adams for A.J. Brown, but that never materialized. And that never came to fruition, which is an interesting. I don't know if I would have swapped Davante for A.J. Brown, but that's something Sean McVay is always looking to improve his team every year. Another discussion this week as we get closer. We're at the owners' meetings this week in Arizona, and this is where your coach is. Your general managers, your owners get together. They talk about some of the changes that's coming up this season. They talk about some of the other things that are going on down there. And it's a really productive time for the NFL. The big discussion at the owners' meeting this week, or at least today, has been Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers. They are scheduled to play September the 10th, which is the first Thursday game of the year in Australia. And then NFL has told both teams they will not receive a bye, knowing both teams have to fly. That's a 32 hours of flight time, 16 hours to Australia, 16 hours back from Australia. Neither team is going to have a bye the week after. It's going to be interesting when the schedule comes out to see how they do this with them playing on a Thursday. I believe that once they play the game on a Thursday, they come back on a Friday. They get a week off. I could see one of them playing Sunday night or Monday night as part of his way to get them as much extension as humanly possible, because the Seattle will host a game this year on Wednesday to accommodate that game in Australia on that Thursday, September the 9th. Possible opponents for Seattle include the Giants, include the Bears, include New England in an immediate Super Bowl rematch, which a lot of people I don't think want to see. So many things are still going to be decided. April's coming up. We got the draft, and then a month after that, about 2 weeks after the draft, we'll have the schedule announcement. All the games that are being scheduled right now will be announced on May the 8th. Or leading up to May the 8th, there'll be some trinkets of some games getting up, probably the international games. But after that, the full schedule will be released May the 8th. Should be a lot of fun. And let's get into baseball season. Baseball season has started up last week for those of you who missed it, and a lot of us did miss it because of the action with the NCAA tournament and a lot of the action with the ladies tournaments going on. And in the ladies tournament, I love the fact that all 4 number 1 seeds made the Final Four, which makes for compelling matchups. Should be a lot of fun in Arizona for the women's Final Four. Back to baseball season. Baseball season started up. And the action has been really good so far. We're seeing a lot of great action. But the talk of the baseball world is the robo umps, ABS, the automatic ball system. The robo umps have been called in quite a bit. The rules state that once a pitcher throws a pitch, the hitter or the pitcher has to go within 5 seconds, tap themselves on the head so they get a review of the call if it's one way or the other. Right now, the umpires are not having a field day with this because they're getting looked pretty bad. 54 right now, the last check, 54% of ball and strike calls have been overturned. The question to me is this good for baseball? I think it's great for baseball. It makes the umpires more accountable. They should be more accountable to begin with. A lot of the problems that we've had with balls and strikes, you could save ejections, you could save a lot of things with the robo umps. This has been fantastic. As a matter of fact, Sunday, we had a manager for the Minnesota Twins, Derek Shelton, get kicked out of the game because he argued balls and strikes after the ABS overturned a ball and called it a strike, which was correctly called a strike. And the one thing I love about the system, when they do the system and hit the pitch, and the call is usually either right or overturned, and it's by the slimmest of margins. These pitchers and these hitters are figuring out how to use it and when to use it. They get 3 challenges per game, so they have to be used sparingly. It's like, and if you win the challenge, you get to keep it. If you lose it, you lose the challenge, you lose the shot, and you're down to 2, or you're down to 1, you're down to 0. It's been so much fun to watch the ball and strikes calls. I had a chance to watch one of the Braves games this week against Kansas City, and a clear strike was called a ball by the umpire, and they tapped the head on the shoulder. And once they went through, the umpire sits there and goes, "You got to be," and even the umpires have to be called accountable. And speaking of umpires, today it came out yesterday at the NFL owners meetings in Phoenix, Arizona, is that they are working on replacement referees in case that the season starts and the regular referees are on strike. Remember 2012? That was the last time we used replacement referees. And I will tell you this right now, that was a terrible, terrible idea. A lot of missed calls, including the famous Hail Mary between the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers, where the Green Bay Packers won a game and then lost the game on simultaneous possession when the Green Bay player came out had the ball the whole entire time. It was ridiculous then. Get the umpires, please, work this out. The referees, these aren't the best referees in the world. They're human, yes. But anything better than replacement referees, we got to have that, because football games are going to be determined. I'd hate for a playoff game or a divisional game or anything to be interpreted by a replacement referee who is not adverse in the calls as the regular referees are. That would be, oh boy, not a good sign to go through. Not a good sign to go. So hopefully they could work on that. They could work on a lot of the deals to get these umpires back in. If anyone has a comment tonight, get a chance to pop in. There's a link to the thing. Pop in, hit a comment, or just say hi, or just say how you doing, and find out where you're listening from. We talk about now. I love the NHL. We're getting to the NHL. They're heading full steam into the playoffs. April 19th is the beginning of the playoffs, which will be here pretty quickly. A lot of teams are under 10 games left to play in the regular season. They're now starting to get spread back out a little bit because of the Olympic break. The Olympic break, you had people rushing. They had schedule rushing back to play as many games as possible. Now they're starting to spread out. You've got contenders trying to get themselves in position in the Eastern Conference. One of the stories of the year is my Buffalo Sabres. Since December 9th, they have been on a tear. They've struggled a little bit lately, but they've been on a tear since then. Them and Carolina are fighting for the number 1 overall seed in the East. And right now, that's looking pretty important, because if your wild card teams, you're either going to get the Islanders, you may get the Canadians, you may get the Bruins. Those are your wild card teams. In the West, that's where the big battle is, in the wild card spot between Seattle, Nashville, a couple of other teams trying to fight for the last playoff spot, 2 wild card spots. With the contenders being Colorado and Dallas, one of them is going to win the President's Cup and be the overall number 1 seed, which means that if one of them makes it to the Stanley Cup final, they would host a Game 7, which for the West has been huge, because the East has hosted a Game 7 the last 5 years, and whoever hosts that Game 7 usually ends up winning that Game 7. So that is a big deal for the President's Cup with Game 7. The next question is, A Canadian team has not won the Stanley Cup since 1993. And after everything that has happened this year to the country of Canada, you had the Blue Jays lose a 3-2 lead in the World Series to the Dodgers. You had Canada, the women, getting beat by the U.S. in the women's gold medal game. You had Canadian men's team get beat by the U.S. men's team. The question now is, can Canada somehow muster a team and contend and try to win and end the Canadian curse, which is now 32 years? Can they win the Stanley Cup for Canada for the first time since 1993? Montreal's going to get an opportunity, and I don't know who, and I think Edmonton in the West is going to get an opportunity. So we may have those may be only two teams that may have a shot at winning a Stanley Cup for Canada for the first time since 1993. I can't wait for the NHL playoffs. To me, the NFL playoffs are fantastic. College basketball or March Madness is great. Right behind that will be the Stanley Cup playoffs, because there's no bigger drama than that. All the rules you have in the regular season, like for overtime, it's 3-on-3 for 5 minutes in overtime, and then a shootout. 5-on-5, 20 minutes. Let's do 20-minute periods. Somebody wins. No shootouts, no 3-on-3s, none of that stuff. Best team wins overtime. Love hockey. Love the hockey. Love the overtime. The hockey's going to be fantastic. Everybody's talking about how the playoffs are going to be exciting. TNT, ESPN. Now that ESPN's back doing hockey, is absolutely unbelievable. My big game performances of the week. We talked about Luxembourg for Michigan playing fantastic, but I'm going to talk about a former Tennessee Vol that plays for Arizona, Toby Awaka. This kid is absolutely a beast. He's always been a beast when it comes to offensive rebound. He's one of the best rebounders in America, but his toughness. He handled Purdue's size and their height in that second half comeback. He was the driving force behind that second half comeback in San Jose for Arizona to get to the Final Four. When I look at UConn, my big game performer in the UConn Duke game, I don't give it to a player. I give it to Coach Dan Hurley. He never kept his kids down. Even when they got being down 19, he's motivating, he's coaching. Sometimes, and he just kept the pedal moving. He kept forcing them to play. And eventually things started happening their way. They kept coming back. They kept coming back. They kept coming back. And then finally they came back at the end and won. And the Illinois coach, Brad Underwood, very respected, very tough-minded coach. They got down to Iowa. It was a familiar matchup. It's the third time Iowa and Illinois had faced each other all year. Tough matchup, tough, gritty matchup with two tough, gritty teams. Underwood made a switch from man-to-man to zone. Really changed the whole outcome of the second half. It affected Iowa's shooting and allowed Illinois to get themselves back and reestablish that inside game, reestablish the inside-outside, and just knocked it down. And in the other game, very impressive, like I said, by Michigan. Very impressive. Dusty May, in 2 years, what a job he has done putting together a roster that they are now competing for a national championship. Just remember, you got two Big Ten teams in the final. You got two Big Ten teams. You got a Big 12 and you got a Big East. The Big East last won a title with UConn 2 years ago. Arizona's last national championship was 1997, beating Kentucky. They were in the Pac-12 back in 1997. As for the Big Ten, they have not won a title in basketball since 2000. Michigan State with a Team Cleaves and that group. Does UConn make it 3 out of 4? Or does one of those droughts finally get busted and somebody cuts down the nets Monday night? We will find out Monday night who's in the final. If we're on tomorrow night with Rebels with a Cause, we're going to pick both of the games. We're going to talk about the keys in both of those games. And we're also going to talk about who is the X factor, because there will be some X factors. In a Final Four like this, there's always an X factor. There's always that special person that somehow can make or break a team on this stage getting to the national championship game. The RCA Dome is going to be rocking. Illinois is the close. Illinois is 2 hours away from there. Michigan is 2 hours away from there. They should have most of the crowd with them. Arizona's going to have a good share of the crowd. UConn will have their share of the crowd because UConn fans are loyal. They travel anywhere and wherever they go. They got 2 Final Fours, as a matter of fact. The women are in the Final Four in Phoenix, and the men are in Indianapolis. So if you want to do plane flights both places and check out both Final Fours, that would be fun. A little expensive, but that would be a lot of fun. This is going to be a great Final Four weekend. The women's Final Four weekend, you have one final. We got one game. You got South Carolina versus UConn. That's a championship game in itself. That is a championship game in itself in the Final Four. Absolutely incredible. It's going to be amazing. And you also got Texas and UCLA in the other. That's going to be an incredible matchup too. That's the second game. That is the second game on the Final Four night on Friday. First game will be South Carolina and UConn. You got Big East, Pac-12, you got Big East, Big Ten, and 2 SEC. Should be very interesting. The women's Final Four is going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be absolutely off the chain. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight, talking about the Final Four, talking about how much fun we're going to have watching the tournament, watching these games. Everything comes to a collapse. And after this, you got the NBA because they're steamrolling towards the playoffs. You got the NHL steaming towards playoffs. You got the UFL, the United Football League. We're going to start talking more about them next week because I've seen a couple of the games so far, and the action's been really, really good. Got 3 new teams in 3 new cities. You got Columbus, Orlando, and Louisville. And all 3 had 2 of them had home games this weekend. Very excited about the attendance in those games. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very exciting. And we'll talk a lot about the UFL and some of the rule changes that are in the UFL. That's going to make for a lot more exciting games and a lot more exciting because the NFL is really getting their hands into the UFL and making it more of a product. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. And when I speak it's a big game. Everybody knows about Big Game Kerry Reeves. Everybody knows. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank you guys for listening. If you're not watching it now and watch it later, keep punching that like button. Please hit that button, smash it. We can share the cause. We get others to join. We're having so much fun. All of us are having fun talking about sports and talking about our views and opinions on it. And hopefully we got some new stuff coming soon with another one of our guys. Our coach is getting ready to start his coach's show, and hopefully we can get that going so he can get you guys in tune what a coach from a coaching perspective and a fan perspective what the games are all about. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I'm Big Game Kerry Reeves. I will see you next week. And remember, folks, when I speak it, it's a big game. It's always a big game. Good night, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Yeah. KR in the zone. When it's time for the moment, you already know. Flip the channel. Hear that voice. Big stakes, big stage, one choice. From the coin toss to the last shot, he break it all down on the spot. Sideline swagger, zip up jacket. Notes in the pad, whole board mapped it. Every city, every loud crowd chanting. If the trophy on the line, he's standing. It's the KR Big Game Show. You feel that buzz soon as lights go. If it's win or lose, he gon' be there. Talking every play like fresh air. Bills Mafia riding, whole nation loud. Big smile steady in the tensest crowd. When the big game hit, he on call for show. It's the KR Big Game Show. KR in the zone. When it's time for the moment, you already know.
Ladies and gentlemen, the KR Big Game Show with your host, Big Game Kerry Reeves.